Hello everybody, welcome to the class today. I'm Nolan Clark, and in this class we're going to be finishing off this drawing. We've been working on it for a few weeks now, so all we need to do is work on the thumb and the coins in the center, and then we're done. So follow along and I'll show you how we do that. Alrighty, so this is what the drawing looks like at this point. If you haven't been following along, the link is in the description. You can go and follow the rest of the lessons. They are available. Alrighty, so today we're going to tackle, I think we'll start with this and then we'll work our way into the coins, because we're now already well into the drawing of the skin tones and stuff. So there's a few little twists and turns. I can see there's a nice little bit of just a bit of a fingerprint here and there, and I think I'd like to get that in today. I think that should look nice if we can do that. So let's go over to here. So I'll start off with a sponge. Let's just get some basic tonal values in here. So I don't know how much graphite is in this, so I'm instantly going to start here at the darkest area, just to get a feel for what kind of tonal value is being put down by my sponge. So it's not quite dark enough, so I'll go over to picking up some more graphite. And I'm just using the absolute tip of that sponge. And now to get that rounding of the thumb, we're going to have to do a bit of a shading from dark through to a lighter value, and then you've got the sunlight again. So what I'm going to do is work on just first putting in the darkest little areas, and that'll start giving me the shape and the wrinkles and stuff inside there. And in the process, what's happening is the excess graphite inside our sponge is now becoming less and less. So that's going to give us the ability to add the other shadings in. Because now there's less tonal value on that, or there's less graphite inside the sponge, and that'll give us a lighter tonal value. As always, I'm not trying to get everything perfect instantly. All I'm trying to do is get my head around what am I doing here now, and what do I need to do. How far do all these tonal values go up, and where does the light start, and so on. Then once I've plotted those things out, then it becomes easier and quick to adjust the tonal values. So I'm now alternating between using the the side edge of the sponge and the tip. Alrighty, let's pick up some more graphite dust. And let's see, here we've got, there's the darkest over there. Here there's no more, we can't see anything. But just over here by the wrist, I first want to get that little edging in over there. Okay, and same as over here. This is all faded out. So that's going to gradually just blend into the background. Okay, and we can get our background in over here too. Let's get that vignetting happening over there. So I'm using lots and lots of graphite. I want the graphite dust to completely fill in the weave or the texture of the paper. Nice little circular motions, gives you a nice even blending. And then the top and the bottom edges also just fade out. You're going to just gradually go over that same place over and over and over again until eventually you've got that correct tonal value. So you can see it's too light, but I'm getting all those shapes and stuff correct. And then I'll gradually get that tonal value more and more correct. Till eventually by the time I've got my shape 100% the way I want it, the tonal value is going to be right as well. Okay, so I'm now constantly picking up new graphite dust here. Okay, so I think I'm pretty much got that shape right. So now it's just the tonal value. So I'm going to get the tonal value right, and I do see just suggestions of some detail in there. So just before I get that tonal value where it needs to be, now I'm going to go over to my blending stump. Just pick up a little bit of graphite dust on the tip. And then just gently work in these little suggestions of details. So it's just like a few little wrinkles and creases. You don't need to get them spot on, but if you can just get a suggestion of them, you're A for a way. Because we can't see anything in that area really. It's too dark. Alrighty, let's flick away any excess graphite dust that's over there, very gently, just to make sure he's dark enough. Right, so I can see there's a little patch that's too light, so I'm going to just darken him up. Just to make sure you've got that, the shape runs along correctly. Great, now we've got that, so we can continue adding more and more detail in over here. See, it's quite an interesting little, goes down, and then it curves up, like that. Here's another little dark area over there. So these are all just little different angles that you're getting in the skin. So you have to pop them in, otherwise you don't get the shape right. Very gentle, very gentle. You can see there's lots of graphite dust lying there at the moment, but I'm just using the tip of the sponge. And then I'm just moving those little bits of graphite dust around to where I need them, where I'm needing more tonal value. Alright, so now there's quite a bit of graphite dust in here, right? So I'm going to just take my brush, let's get rid of that excess now, and just take this and just smash it on the paper to get rid of that excess again. Add that graphite dust back on the pile so it doesn't go to waste. Let's start getting some of these guys in over here. Here it looks like I did lose a little bit of, you got these two little roundings over here. So by the looks of it, I've got this one in, but not this one. Can you see that? Here is this, but there, that one's missing. I've somehow lost that. So I'm just going to take my kneaded eraser and we'll work him back in again. So he starts off there by the finger. And he curls around like this. So now as I erase, all I'm going to do is just take a look at those tonal values and see where do I need to erase more and where do I need to erase less. And then every now and again, obviously, I'm just curling over my eraser to get him nice and clean again, so that he can continue to lift out more and more graphite. Yeah, that's probably about where he needs to be. So let's start adding the shading in over here. Yeah, I think for the most part we've got about as much graphite down here as what we can get with a sponge. The rest we'll have to do with a pencil. Maybe we can squeeze in that dark bits over there, eh? Why not? While we're using the sponge, let's get these little dark bits in here. on the hand next to the coins over there. So it's super dark over here. I'm going over it plenty of times to really fill in that, and then from there just a quick little blend. Very quick blend. That runs ever so slightly up against the thumb because your thumb is now doing this. So as it does that, can you see there? It forms that little bit of a shadow over there. And that's that little piece that we're drawing there now. So what you want to do when you are doing something like this is always, if you're unsure about something, just do a look on your own hand like I'm doing here now. Just if you're not sure, what is that? Do that to your own hand and see what happens. But yeah, I think that's about as much as we're going to get with a sponge. So let's go over to, I think we'll start with the lightest pencil. So let's get our overlay down there. I think I'll put him over there. Then we go for the 2H pencil initially. So for now, I'm ignoring all those little textures. All I want to do is just get this little shading right and get all these tonal values right. So once we've got all that right, then we can come back in with darker tonal values and erase out lighter tonal values and so on. So I'm applying zero pressure on this pencil at this stage. Absolutely nothing. I'm just letting the graphite do itself. So if I want it darker, I'm just going over the same place again and again and again until I get the tonal value that I want. And if I don't, then I'm going to go over to a softer pencil. For example, over here, what I want to do is get that, make sure I don't lose that separation between this thumb and the inside of the hand over there. So I'm going to go over to a darker pencil. So this is a B. And I just want to get that little dark bit that's over there. That's on the inside of the hand part. Right, and then over here, there's a coin that's sort of lying in that vicinity over there. So I'm going to just follow that curvature of that coin. Yeah, well, that there should be good. Now I can go over to the lighter pencil again, because all these tonal values here on the edge of the thumb are really light. Right, and now let's also just get that nail defined so we know what's going on there. So I can see the nail ends over there and it ends over here. So again, no pressure whatsoever. Just getting that nice darkness in, and I'm fading him out to get that roundness over there by the cuticle. Super light touch. Okay, as it comes in over there. Now let's get that front piece where the nail is. So I've lost my line, but I think we're close enough. We're able to estimate this and it will look correct. So you can see I've gone over to a lighter pencil again, and it just curls in underneath there like that. I'd rather create all that stuff with a lighter pencil. That way I won't have to do any erasing in an ideal world. Okay, that's all dark over there. Alright, so now we can just add a little bit of tonal value onto this. You can even use the sponge for that. Just so that that brightness over there doesn't put us off. Okay, now we can continue with the finger. So this is all just about getting that rounding right. Just the shape. Remember, that's always the mission. You start off, it's a blank paper. So you've got to start off somewhere. So you just lay down a few tonal values. And in the end of the day, those tonal values start giving you the form or the 3D effect of the object. So once you've got that 3D effect happening over there, then you continue working on just getting those tonal values correct. And once you're happy with the tonal values, then you come back in and do all the fine detail work, getting the little details in, like fingerprints and whatnot. Right, so there's that odd little highlight over there. So I'm just going to erase him out as best where I think he's going to be. And you can see as well, these areas over here, I'm keeping them also just a little bit lighter than what I need them, until I'm happy that I've got their shapes correct. In other words, the form. Once you've got that form right, then to do a final little adjustment on those tonal values is easy. This here. Slightly estimated that wrong, so I need to just adjust that. He needs to go lighter over there, and that darkness come to here. I had him a little bit too far forward. Yeah, so that's cool over there. I'm happy with that. Okay, let's continue working on those tonal values now. So now I can also see that this little, that That little highlight can also come a bit forward. Hi Virginia, hi Renee, how you guys doing? And how are your drawings coming along? Okay, now let's get this little, it's quite a funny little curve over there. I think it's this. Yeah, it's this that we're seeing, eh? No, it's not, it's this. There, it forms like a little funny bump over there. Can you see there? Forms like a little bump. And I think that's what we're seeing over there. So when we did this in the previous lesson, I sort of avoided this area because I didn't quite know where it was, what was going where. But now that we've got our wrist and stuff in, now we can get that all nicely more accurate. Quite an unusual little dented in piece over there. Okay, we bring this up. Let's work on those tonal values a little bit. So you'll see I'll also sometimes, because I'm working on this whole area, I'll sometimes work a little bit here and then I'll get sort of wander off a little bit, which is also good. Because then you get these overall tonal values more correct over the entire area. Okay, so I'm going to just smooth these guys out, because when you work with a pencil it lays on top of the texture of the paper and doesn't go in. And what we want here now is just some more smoother textures. And over here I'm also just adjusting some of these, the highlights, getting them darker. Okay, I'm going to dip my blending stump into the graphite dust, because here I want to get this really dark. Thin bits in over there. What I now also want is a bit of a sharpish line over here. So by working that in with the blending stump, you're going to get that darker edge. And while I'm at it, I'm going to add in a few little texture lines to suggest some details. So while I'm trying to add in these real darks here using the blending stump and the dust, instead of just using, say, my 8B pencil, it's because the 8B pencil, to get really, really dark, I have to press hard. And the minute I press hard, then I start getting a shine. And you'll notice, let's just stand back. Look here, there's no shine on this drawing whatsoever. Look there. Whereas if you do that with a drawing that you've purely done with pencils, you're going to get a shine. And it can be quite a hectic shine. And that shine is hectic because what's happening when you're using the pencil and you're pressing hard, then you're flattening the texture of the paper. Okay, see, I'm also just adding just a few little wrinkles and crinkles just in different directions to suggest those textures. Especially around here by the knuckle, you've got all those little textures. So you've got main lines are going this way, but look on your thumb and you'll see you've got other ones crossing them as well. And it's just those few little odd crossing lines here that I'm adding in. Just here and there. A random little line. And that gives you all the details you need. Because in this area it is still quite dark. Yeah, I think these tonal values are slowly getting there. So here you do have to now look really carefully to get these tonal values correct. Because there's lots of little subtle changes. For example, along here it's darker, sort of running like that. In this area over here is still a little bit too light, so I'm just gently tapping over that till he eventually becomes a good tonal value. Alright, so once you've got pretty much a good tonal value happening there, now you can come back in with, say, your Kneaded Eraser, or your Tombow, and just gently lift out little finer details. And they will now often lift out a little bit too light and so on, but that's fine. You're okay with that. I think you've got used to that now already, eh? Where as you lift out these guys, they do end up a little bit lighter than what they need to, and then we bring them back down again. So just look for all those little fine wrinkles. If you're on a computer, you've got your reference photo on a computer, then what you can even do is just fiddle around with the brightness and the contrast. And that'll bring out lots of the details here in these dark areas. Alright, so those tonal values are, or the details are looking good, and I'm happy with that for the most part. So now I'm going to just steal a little bit of graphite dust over here. And now just tone them back down to where I want them. Some will be subtle, some will be less subtle. Some I'll actually even give a shading. So I'm going to work from here, where I need it to be dark. I'll work across that mark up into where I need it to be lighter. So there I won't go over so much, but here I'll go over more and more and more until over here that line that I've got in there just disappears on me. And then here and there, I'm going to just add just little bits of cross-hatching as well. And that's going to suggest lots of these little details and things. For example, let's go in here on this. Let's go well in there. Can you see the texture of the skin is sort of running in that direction over here? So all I'm doing is just adding little cross-hatch lines in that direction and some across it. So yeah, when you stand back, you're not going to see these lines, but it's for the guy that's, wow, look at all this detail, and steps closer, and then he really does see all those fine detail. Okay, so here we need to get that edge darker. So let's say go over to the B pencil, because your thumb rounds off over there, and as it rounds off it curls away from the light. So here, this little edge, the very edge needs to be a lost line. So I'm starting with a B there. There it becomes a found line again, because now you've got that contrast between the distance between the coins and the finger. So I'm starting off here with a B, and I'm just gradually fading him inwards like this. Here is very dark, so I'm going to go over to my 8B. Let's get that in as dark as we can with the 8B without pressing hard. Because by not pressing hard, we're not getting a shine. We don't want to shine on this drawing whatsoever. Okay, that's cool. Let's start working on the tonal values here. I think I'm going to go over to my blending stump and the graphite dust. There's a nice little highlight on the edge of that nail there. Right, so here, what I'm going to do is also just get just a little bit of texture. You can see there is a bit of a crinkle there in the thumb. So just whatever graphite is left on this blending stump, just going to use that. And if it's too much, or even just wipe it off on my shirt. If you don't want to dirty your shirt, just use a spare cloth, just a random cloth that you've got lying around. What's important though is that you make sure that these little angles and dings and dents that you do work in here follow the curvature or the contour of the finger. And you can see there's quite a few little marks like that. Just gradually work them in. And I'm going to do the same using either my Kneaded Eraser or my Tombow. And I'm going to just work in some textures using the eraser. Just light little taps and drags on things. All of that there is a nice texture, but can you see it's a little bit too dark? So I'm going to take my eraser, just tap it on my paper to dirty him up. And then I can tap over that. And that will just lift up some of that graphite and just soften up that effect. Alright, so here I'm going to go to the Tombow. I'm going to add a few little just lines and cross hatches and things. Alright, here we can see a distinct little bit of fingerprint. So give me a second. I want to zoom in on that for you. Okay, so I've now really gone well in. So now I want to get that texture. Let's see if we can get that on the picture as well. Can you see there's that little bit of a ribbed effect from the skin texture. I don't want to get that in. So I'm going to start here by the lightest area, which is around here. Now make sure that you have this nice and sharp. If your eraser isn't nice and sharp, take your knife and just cut him off at a 45-degree angle, so that in the end of the day, can you see if you've got that super sharp point? Maybe I can hold it over there by the dark area. Can you see that? It's a super sharp point. You just want to use that edge. You go over the same place multiple times. Lift it out of like that until you're happy. And then just continue the line outwards. Same with all of them. So what's interesting about the skin texture is it's usually not a solid line, so I'll often just add little broken bits in there as well while I'm doing that. For example, that line, let's do this. These lines that you're raising will do this. They'll generally follow that direction, right? But you'll have one doing this, and then it will stop, go over there. And the other one will maybe go to here, and then you'll have another one starting in between, and so on. Let's see, there seems to be just a little bit of a cut in the finger over there. And there's a thinner one over there. Am I trying to get this identical? No, it's not going to be possible. You can't get all that identical skin texture. Just get something similar. That's good enough. Here we can distinctly see there's that little, I think because of that cut, you've got a scar over there, and that's lifting up this bit of skin. So it's lighter in that area. So all these little ridges I'm having to lighten up to show that scar over there. Okay, now same as what we did on top, on the top hand. We're going to take some of these guys and just break them up with those little cross cuts. And that makes them look natural. Alrighty, let's zoom out again so we're not so super close in. Yeah, let's go back to there. Alright, so you now know what I'm doing, so now I'm going to just continue doing that in this area over here. Continue adding little lines and things. Extra little textures and stuff. Here I'm just going to lay down just a very light little bit of tonal value. No pressure on that eraser at all, so that's all just lying on the top there. And that's going to allow me to erase. Same as what we did over there, erase some more of this texture in here. Some are going this way, some are going that way. Always just to follow that contour. And when you do that, always come down further into these little darker areas. So that you got there where that little no man's land is. That's super important to get some of that texture in there, because that's where it's most visible, because you've got the highest contrast over there. Okay, all the while I'm still continuing to work on getting the tonal values correct as well. Yeah, we can see quite a bit of this skin texture in this vicinity over here as well. So I'm going to work it in there. Now it's super important that you don't be lazy. If your eraser becomes blunt from erasing, is not so nice and sharp anymore, stop and give him a new little edge. Because if you don't, you're not going to get those lovely details in. Then you've kind of wasted your time. That would be a shame. You've spent so much time on the drawing, especially now here at the end, because you like, you can see the end in sight and you just want to, come on, hurry up, get finished. So it's quite tempting, but you don't want to do that. And this is a detailed drawing. Take your time. Do this for relaxation. If you want to do speed stuff, there's plenty of other little shorter drawings, lessons that I've got. Follow them. Alrighty, I think I'm pretty happy with the texture there. This is looking quite nice. Let's continue with this top piece over here. So here's quite a few little ribs and ridges. So we just get my tracing paper under my hand so that I don't dirty in all this hard work we've just done here. So let's start off with those ribs and just define them. Because what happens with the rib, it's a rounding like this. So take my finger as one of those ribs. You've got a highlight, which goes to a shadow. And then right next to the shadow, you've got a highlight. And then it gradually goes to a shadow again. And then right next to that shadow, you've got a highlight. So we'll work in these the highlight bit. And then we know where the shadows go. And these aren't perfectly straight lines. They'll maybe come down like this, and then they'll curve and bow or whatever. And often you'll find even just putting this in like this is enough. But more often than not, you do need to add just a little bit of shading to this. Sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. That's what I'm at. I'm just going to add just a few little cross guys coming out from those highlights. And I think for the most part that'll get that done over there. Let's go over to a B. And let's just fix up a few contrasts and add a few extra little lines in. Where are we putting those lines? Right next to the highlights. Yeah, some quite super subtle stuff happening over here now. Just a few little marks and things to show details. In fact, I think I'm going to go over to an H. Right, let's take a look here. This thing is too dark. This little dark piece over there. So I'm just making him taper off towards the top and towards the side. Just darken off over here inside that the darkest bit. There's some line over there. There's a little line over there. Alrighty, let's take a look. Let's get this here nice and bright, these little bright bits. So I'm working in between the pencil work. That should do the trick. Okay, let's carry on working on the nail. There's a lovely little highlight, so I'll just pick him out. It'll make him look nice and sharp and shiny. And let's get the edge of the nail, same as what we did before. And that shows us the thickness of the nail. Awesome, let's take a look. It's too light over there. That needs to go darker so that you can see the nail is also curling around. And then here, I'm not quite happy that you can see that separation between the hand over here, or the what would you call that, the top of the palm and the thumb. So I'm going to use my kneaded eraser, just very carefully, just create a little bit of a contrast over there. A very low contrast found line. Can you see there? Just a few taps, and boom, you've got the definition that you want. Yeah, there we go. That's great. Look at that. Okay, cool. Let's get that tonal value right over there. In actual fact, I think I'm going to, because this goes super thin over here, I'm going to turf all that I've done there. Let's get rid of that. And let's use our kneaded eraser. Just gently dragging it up there. Gets him in there, and now we fix up the tonal value. Just a shading. Here is darker. Then as he curls around, he gradually picks up more light, and it becomes lighter. There we go. Same over here. There's a little bit of a bump kind of shape happening over there. So I'll lighten that up to get the shape right. And then just readjust the tonal value. I'm happy with that. That's good enough. Let's see, where else do we still need to fiddle with? Yeah, I think what we erased over there came out okay. I'm happy with him. Just there. So I'm being quite fussy now because, yeah, why not? We can afford to. This is now that finishing part of a drawing. We do tend to fiddle with finer little things. Alright. Let's go ahead and let's tackle these coins. They shouldn't take us too long. Touch wood. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do is just start by establishing those little darks, and where the one coin meets the other one, or where the one face gives you a strong contrast between the others, and that should instantly bring out these edges of the coins. So I'm not pressing hard, it's all still very gentle work. Just trying to create contrasts for definition. So let me get just that drawing sorted over there. I think that's about as close up I can get on that for you. Here's two coins lying on top of each other, so there's a little triangle of darkness where there's a gap. And there, this one casts a shadow on the one below it, like that. There's another coin there, but he's got that little lip on the edge. So the coin itself is now in shadow. But I'm going to leave just that finest little edge showing over there. So eventually that will be enough to define that coin over there. Okay, over here we have, there's one coin right up against this finger which I've lost, which I'm happy to lose. Here it's nice and dark over here. So if your pencil is now a little bit blunt, go ahead and sharpen him. Or you can even use a mechanical pencil. Fabulous. Let's take a look over here. So what I do is every now and again I'll take just a scrap piece of paper, and you see I'm holding the pencil in like this, and I'm holding it as flat against the paper as what I can, and I'm just turning it like this. And that's why I'm sharpening it. And if you keep it at a nice low angle, you get a nice long sharp point. So I'm just going to do that off my drawing, because I don't want to dent my drawing, because I need to press a little bit harder so that it goes quick. Look there, can you see you got this beautiful sharp point by doing that, which is good as a mechanical pencil for a short while. So here again there's a little cast shadow over there, and then this coin over here, let's get his little side defined. Cool, and in there he goes into shadow, and then he comes out. Alrighty, way up here by the finger. So that's the whole coin. I'm not going to color in the whole coin. Just doing the bits that I need so that I can see where's each coin, where's the definition of each coin. That's all I'm interested in. Okay, and there's a coin that comes out here. Something like that. And there I can see that something, some suggestion of another little coin over there. So what are we actually doing here? We're working on our positive and negative spaces. That's all you're working on here. And there's a tiny little bit of hand. So I'll just add a little bit of tonal value there and then use my blending stump. Work in a very basic little shading over there. Yeah, awesome. And then here we need to get a nice found line over there. And then here there's another coin just rounding out over there, which is 99.9% in the shadow. Okay, so now I'm using graphite dust to get these little darkest bits as dark as what I can get them. So I'm looking for those darkest darks now. The bits that are as good as black, and I'm not going to have to go back into them again. Just dip into the graphite dust and work it into your drawing. And I'm working on the outside of the coins as well. All these little bits here that we couldn't finalize because we didn't have our coins defined. Now's the time. Now's the time. Nice, you're starting to see the coins already. There's another one over here that's like really deep in shadow. So I'm going to get him as dark as what I can. I'm going to try and form just a little bit of a very, very insanely low contrast found line over there. Sometimes it works just by doing that. If not, like now, it didn't quite work. So I'm going to take my kneaded eraser and just run it just off that little line that I formed. So yes, as usual, he's going to go too light. And I'm going to come back in from the outside of that. We can even use the blending stump. Go from the outside of that. I'm going to gradually push it in until there's just the lightest little ridge left visible. And that should give us just a, can you see, there's just that little hint of a line over there. And that's just a suggestion that there's a coin over there. Okay, this one's quite big, so I think I'll go to the broad tip over here now. Nice little circular motion to get that worked in. Cool, now we can go over to the small tip again. Just to do the finer edges and the details. So I can see here, there's not really any details that I can see on this coin. So I'm happy to go quite dark with this, like that. But now, this coin sort of is coming towards us. So there by the finger, it's in deep shadow. Here, there's a little bit of there's just a little bit of light that you can see. So I'm going to create myself a rounding that's roughly that radius with the kneaded eraser. Now I'm going to tap this on my graphite page so it only lifts out a little bit. And I'm just going to roll that on that edge over there just to create a little bit of a contrast difference between here and there. What that does is it changes that coin from being literally either directly towards you or literally flat to putting it at an angle. Anything that's a gradient tends to look like it's at an angle. Alrighty, let's get the edge right over here. The coin goes around. So he's got, as he goes around, we can even show you just on this. As he goes around, he's got a highlight edge. Then he goes darker and darker and darker as he curls away from the light. And the same thing happens on the other side, just not as fast, because he just goes a little bit away from the light. So there, your highlight will tend to be around here, go a little bit darker. And on this side, it'll go much darker. So let's see that on those coins. Can you see specifically here? Here we can see it best. It's really light over here. It goes a little bit darker to there and much darker to there. Lightest here, a little bit darker there and there. But the same thing happens here, just at a lower contrast. He's lightest here, goes darker to there and darker to there. So what I am now doing is I am just trying to avoid that little edge over there. Alright, cool. So look what's happening. I'm putting down the new graphite over here, so it's automatically going darker there. And as I work across, that graphite gets less and less on the blending stump. And I get a lighter and lighter tonal value. So I'll just keep working it until I'm happy that those tonal values are now correct. Okay, let's get these bottom guys in and get them nice and dark. As before, I'm leaving just that lightest little ridge visible, just to define where the edge of those little coins are. So initially I'll do it with the blending stump, but that's not fine enough. So then you come back in with a pencil and just thin him down until he's the right thickness. Here you can see a little bit of the thickness of that coin. So I'm going to leave that one a little bit broader than that guy over there. Here it disappears into the shadows. Then as it comes out, you start to see details and stuff. So on the coin, it's got little emblems and numbers and what have you. So as I bring this out, what I'm bringing out is just, I'm doing it with little wiggle and squiggle motion. And that wiggle and squiggle will suggest that detail. And here where those two coins meet, I've got to make sure that it's got that thinnest little found line over there, because that separates those coins from each other. Right, then also here you've got the top edge of the coin, and then you've got the side, right? So the side is at a different angle, so you have to make sure that side and the top are at different tonal values to show that they're different angles. Right, so here I'm just lifting out a nice bright edge on the edge of the coin over there, like that. And then I'll come back in, because these coins aren't new themselves either. So I'll just break up that little light line. So he's sort of light here and light there. Other places he's dark again, and so on. Cool, man. Alright, so here we're definitely going to have a lot more of that texture, because you can see there's that embossed design on the side of the coin over here. So I'm going to come back in and just start off with the dark bits, just wiggles and squiggles here and there. And I can see those darker bits around the edges over here. So it's just little dabs and taps that I'm now working in here. And again, I'm avoiding that absolute edge of the coin because I want that little standing up ridge to be visible, because he helps to define the difference between, or the separation between the one coin and the other. Alright, so there's that, all that dark over there. Just blow that away. Wipe off the excess off the blending stump, just on my shirt. And I'm just going to dab and tap for the rest to get an in-between tonal value over there. Okay, and you can come back in with a pencil as well, just to add that last little bit of definition, get your edges right. Add little details. I think I'm actually even going to take a chisel point. Just a chisel point pencil. Where can I show you over there? This guy. Because he's now got a nice long sharp edge. He's going to allow me to get this edging right quite nicely. Yeah, there you go. You see, now you've got a suggestion of detail inside that coin there now. Okay, let's go to the edge of it. It's darkest over here because that's furthest away from the light. It goes lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. So I'm going to keep this edge just a little bit stripy like that, because a lot of these coins actually do have a ridge. Some of them are smooth, some of them have a ridge. Just keep that a little bit stripy. That stripiness makes it look like it's shiny. Alrighty. Yeah, I think let's stick with the chisel point on this guy. Let's get that top of that coin over there just popped in. Just leave a few little gaps here and there to suggest some other markings on the coin. Okay, it was dark over there, and it goes lighter and lighter. So now with this one you can really see quite nicely how what happens sometimes is you've got, because this is smooth, it gets different reflections in him. So you get little areas that are lighter and darker. There we go. Let's get that chisel point to make sure we get our little cast shadow over there. That creates separation between the guys. Wow, look at this, guys. We've got the end is in sight. Fantastic. Right, this here is super dark. I'm going to just make him as good as black. We can barely see anything over there. Just like that. Okay, so here's one of those guys with the ridges. Maybe a bit small. I'm going to try and get some ridges in there, but we'll see. So I'm going to add his normal shading in. And I'll cut another new sharp point on my Tombow eraser. And let's see, here's at its brightest over here. I'm going to just try and erase those little lines. Just nice little parallel lines there. Yeah, awesome, that worked. Okay, let's take a look. I think let's go now over to this far left-hand one, because he's now behind that guy. So I'm going to get him as dark as I can, and I'm going to leave just here and there a little bit of a lighter patch or so on, just to suggest some detail in there. Now we do now have that little ridge. So now here I'm working on the finger bit, just getting that last little contrast in over there. And at the same time, what's happening is I'm pushing that ridge thinner and thinner and thinner. The same over here. I'm gradually pushing that ridge thinner and thinner. And then I'm going to go, now that I'm happy with his thickness, I'm going to go over it to get his contrast right. His tonal value. So it's not bright, but it does need that little bit of a contrast there, just so that you can see him. Right, so over here we have just a little bit of a little lighter suggestion of the top of this coin. So I'm just going to try and erase it. Just that little bit of a ridge. See there? Just that little bit of a ridge there was enough. Cool, here's another rib coin, so let's get him in. So get your shadings in first. See where's he dark. It's not so easy on here, but so just take a look. What's overall dark, what's overall light. It's overall darker here in this little edge. And I can even just leave this sort of stripey as well. That's also going to start suggesting that. It does seem to be a little bit lighter. Seems to be reflecting something over there. Okay, that's cool. Now let's get our eraser. I'm going to chop him off again to get a nice new point. And you see I didn't cut off a lot. It's the smallest little sliver. That's all you need to cut off to get this guy nice and sharp again. keep going over the same place a few times until your line appears. Okay, there the line's not appearing. We'll have to make another plan. We'll do that in a minute. I suppose we can do it now, then it's done, eh? So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to take a jelly roll pen. Just here and there where it's at its brightest. And just work in a little highlight there. Alrighty, cool bananas. What do we got? Just those two little ridges, then we're done. Oh yes, there's a nice little reflected light line there that needs to disappear. Cool, and those last two ones are smooth, so they're easy peasy. You know how to do them now. It's super dark there, we can't even see it over there. It's a lost line. And I'm going to keep that shading all the way along the how would you put it? This way, not at funny angles, along the length, you could say, of that coin. Okay, so it goes to here, and then from there it goes dark again, we can't see it. Like that, keeping it a little bit stripy so it stays looking shiny, and the one next to it is the same thing, it's lost over there. Goes lighter and lighter. And his highlight, can you see they staggered? That's what's going to tell you that they're at different angles. And they're two different coins. And here is getting darker and darker again. And as before, I'm leaving myself a little bit of a ridge over there for definition between the coins. And I'm also going to come back in here and just make this top coin a little bit darker on his ridge, on that side, so that you've got a contrast in color as when tonal value between this guy and that guy as well. Hey, let's see, let's maybe add an extra little line, erase a little line out of there as well, just for extra contrast between those two guys. We can't add a cast shadow there because it's out of view. Alright, so at this point your drawing is now finished. So what you're going to do now is stand back. Let's go to there. And let's take there. So now what you want to do is just look at stuff. Look at all the different areas and so on, and just make sure that you've got correct tonal values in the correct places. For example, like over here, this was a little area that we couldn't do before, simply because we hadn't done the coins. So that there needs to be a lost line. So I'm going to come in and fix it. And this stage over here can take anything from 5 minutes to 5 hours, depending on how much adjusting you need to do. I've tried to work as accurate as I can going, so that I don't have to do too much fixing up as I go along. But it's always good to check. Just check tonal values and so on. And what's a really good thing to do is now you actually leave it, do a bit of fixing up now, and then leave it for a day, or even up to a week. Don't even look at it. Then come back and compare your photograph and your real thing, and then you'll notice the differences, those little places that you've missed, those little places that maybe need to go darker, and so on. And it's quite weird how they'll just jump out at you. Because what happens is now when you're looking at this drawing, you're so into the drawing, so you've been working on, let's say for example, this thumb and the coins. So your brain is so fine-tuned to small little differences in this one specific area. But now, when you're standing back and you're looking at the whole drawing, your eye is not looking at just that specific area, it's looking at the whole drawing. So you're going to need to clear, you can sort of say clear your mind of all these little finer details that you've been working on now, so that it gives your brain a chance to evaluate this drawing from a broader perspective. So look at that, take a look and see what's bothering you, and then just fix those things that are bothering you. That's all. Just fix those little things that are bothering you. If that's nothing really serious is standing out at you and bugging you, leave it. It's done. Okay, I think we can turf that picture now. And let's see what does our final drawing look like. So guys, if you have enjoyed the series over here, before we continue, I want to briefly tell you about my real-time paint and draw along art classes on my website. For a very small amount, you can get access to over 400 paint and draw along tutorials where you pack out your art supplies and you follow along as I show and explain to you in step-by-step detail how to complete each project. There are classes in acrylic, oil, watercolor, pencil, soft pastel, and even lesser known mediums like pen and ink and sketchboarding. There's a link in the description below. Take a look. You'll be amazed at the awesome classes available there. Alrighty, let's continue from where we left off. Alrighty, so while that was playing, I can just see one place that's really bugging me. Can you see that there's a little bit of lost definition over there by the thumb, because we haven't defined that found line over there. The minute I do that, and I make that line found, look there, it brings this whole thumb forward and pushes the other goodies back. Yeah, so I'm happy with that. I think we'll call it a day. So to sign something like this, we've got lots of graphite on the page. Use your jelly roll pen. Make a few marks, and then just, for example, I'm just going to do it over here, so I don't want to sign it right now. You're going to just activate your jelly roll pen, make sure he's writing, then make a few marks. Reactivate him, make the next mark. Because what happens is now gradually picking up the graphite. So only writes a little bit at a time. But slowly, you'll get your signature done. And once it's more or less in place, then leave it. Stop there. And then let it dry. Continue with the next letters. Until they also as good as done. Then by that time this one is dry. Now you come back and you write over him again. So what happens is, now you're not writing on graphite anymore, you're writing on pen, and you'll find you'll get it even more defined. Alrighty, so I hope you've enjoyed this this lesson series. Let me know what we must do next. Let's go to there. I hope you've enjoyed the series as much as I have. It's been awesome fun. It's really nice getting all those details in, but it's not so much so difficult. It's just a lot of work. So good luck with your hands. I'll see you next time. Guys in the live class, you have yourself a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll catch you next time.